like to have all of our teammates come up on stage after the panel, and I would like to invite our final panelists and moderators. We will be talking about capital flow and a look at processes in the accommodation sector. From Access Hospitality, founder and president Haluk Özdoğan is with us. From Ernst and Young, partner Gökkaya. And from Deloitte, partner Osman Arslan. These are all very important names, and this is the final panel. Thank you. Thank you for waiting for us. We are very close to the Street Foods Festival, and we will try and give you all the latest trends in this topic as fast as possible so we can go there. We have very valuable panelists, Osman Aslan from Deloitte and from Ernst & Young, Gökkaya. So I would like to start with Osman. As Deloitte, they have a very comprehensive study that they have carried out in Europe, and we will talk about that. We will talk about management and the pressures they have on investors and how to cope with them. But first, before that, we will turn to Gün. So the global capital, is it going back into the hotel sector? Well, yes, actually, the cases after the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, it was quite challenging. There were still a lot of travel restrictions at the time, and we didn't know how it would go. But once the uncertainty disappeared, and basically the hotel sector came out as a winning asset out of the pandemic, and it started to attract capital once again. And this isn't just about occupancy or room rates, but structurally as well, hotels started to say, I am here to last. Okay, so where does Turkey stand in all of this, especially in terms of global capital owners? Is it still attractive? Well, yes, it is. We can divide investors into various classes here. We have some funds, private equity funds, family offices, and then individual investors. And there are some who have legacy investments, and then there are rational investors. So that's the spectrum we have. And of course, they all have a different expectation. We don't see many big transactions. What type of hotels do you think attract more investment appetite right now? And what is the type of profile? I mean, which countries have more of an appetite to invest in Turkey in this area? Well, experience in premium luxury is coming to the fore. I looked at it before I came here in Bodrum. LLVMH, Bulgari, Shangri-La, Mandarin Oriental Edition. These are all hotels in Bodrum. So once these are on the map, the global investor profile starts looking here as well, because when you look at it, you don't see that many brands in one location. Sometimes from Abu Dhabi office or our Egypt office, they say, how did you manage to do this with envy? They say, tell us about Istanbul and Bodrum. So there is a lot of attention on luxury. But of course, they all have different people as buyers, and we try to follow this on a weekly basis. We try to follow the capital flow, and there were important partnerships. Mandarin Oriental became partner with a state fund. Then there's Shangri-La Bosphorus. A long year ago, Shangri-La Bosphorus had 50% partnership. Peninsula has a similar 50% partnership. So both investor and operator and the state funds and private capital are interested in Turkey, I believe. So EBITDA margin, profitability, the inflationary environment, the volatility in FX, I mean, all the costs are increasing and we don't have very healthy EBITDA. So do you think is that there's any way that these can impact EBITDA? What is your comment on this? Well, it depends on what the investor is seeking here, because there are investors from all profiles. Some, as I said, yes, some go for a trophy asset, for example, and they want to be the owner with 2% or 3%. And they want the newer generations to take it afterwards. And there are some family members who receive a lot of rational training in the family offices. They can be more aggressive. In Côte d'Azur, for example, there are 3 hotels, and they either belong to a fund or they belong to the Italia family. Carlton, Martinez, Majestic, they all belong to the same family, really. And we are experiencing that too. So there are emotional investors who can really buy something with 2-3%, but it would be a trophy asset like by the Bosphorus or something unique in Bodrum. So you have those investors, yes, but you also have aggressive ones who want 8 to 12% revenue. So it depends on the region and the asset as well. When you go towards the south, towards Bodrum or Antalya, you see that the transactions happen with EBITDA times 15. We follow the transactions day by day, and we look at 100 hotel balance sheets throughout the year, all the feasibilities and the valuations. So we see a lot of different cases. But when we look at the Turkish investors, EBITDA by 15 isn't really satisfactory because our land is valuable, our property is valuable, we have good investments. So how do you try to overcome the complexity here analytically? Well, we don't really try to make a match there because it depends on the decision of the property owner. But there is an opportunity in Turkey. Instead of buying a land and building on it to build a new hotel, buying an existing hotel is 40-50% cheaper. You know, buying it, creating a certain amount of capex, and even if you do that, if there's an existing capital or some investor that has access to capital, it can become a more advantageous investment. Okay, finally, is this a trend to stay or is it temporary? No, for Turkey, it's definitely here to stay because Istanbul, Bodrum, I mean, it's not just sea, sun, and sand anymore. Our cultural heritage, the interest that the foreign tourists have. I mean, in very rare countries, you have 65% of foreign tourists. And we are one of them, and we have a target to increase the amount generated from this as well, from $65 to $68 million. And I believe that Turkey will always be on the map of foreign tourists if we manage to do this. Okay, so I guess we can say that Turkey is still attractive in terms of global capital, and that appetite in the future, with the economy becoming a little more stable, will increase. Yes, I mean, even property owners who are not happy now, it's time to protect their property, really. Yes, we do have property owners and investors here. That's why I wanted to say it. Yeah, they need to protect their assets as is right now, and then I believe there will be an increased trend. Thank you very much.
Osman Bey, I talked about Deloitte. a very important work across Europe. As far as we know, it's conducted with managers, and their business strategies and their expectations from the sector were put forth. And this data was used in analyses for the concerns of investors. Last week, there was a research report published by Deloitte. There were more than 100 sectoral managers, hotel owners, creditors, and investors in this research report last month. And every result is similar with Turkey. I've been conducting work in tourism sector for long years. I do consultancy work, so the outlook in Europe, the investment plans are quite similar to the trends in Turkey. I have some slides with your permission. I want to share the results of these surveys. First, what is the outlook for investment? For one thing, for growth and investments, there is a positive outlook. For the next 5 years, there is a much more positive outlook compared to last year. Of course, there is a small parenthesis. We have the same in Turkey. The profit expectation is getting lower and lower. What does that mean? It's a very competitive sector, but there is a positive outlook and it's growing. So there is a positive outlook for investments and growth expectations. Another survey result is about digitization and transformation. What do the sectoral representatives plan? Yes, they have AI investments, they have smart technology solutions, automation investments for 2 reasons. One is cost optimization, because there is not a profit increase expectation, so there is automation, there is cost optimization, and also there is need for data analysis that will help decision making. It's quite a high rate, right? Yes, there will be more investment in digitization, it seems. Another subject is the merger and acquisitions. It's how about the outlook? Well, for big mergers, for big acquisitions, there is not a lot of appetite because there is a lot of competition there. And I don't know if the prices are really reasonable, so they may be high for the investors. So the focus is on investing in current assets by increasing their value, and another focus is organic growth. So it's about organic growth and increasing the current value of assets. Another area is the structure of capital sources. Where does new capital come from? Well, there are the private capital funds mainly, but it's a trend that's going lower. Family companies, like in Turkey. Why? Managing, or the desire to manage that enterprise, guides families to buy or manage a hotel. Günbey mentioned it a moment ago. Perhaps buying land and making an investment on top of that, or by buying new hotel. That's how they prefer to manage their cash. Let's continue with another area, diversification. What steps are sectoral representatives taking? they're focused on 2 points. One is new geographies, switching to new geographies, because profitability is a tough action. So they're going to new geographies. And another thing is strategic partnership. Rather than buying a company, they work with strategic partners in different geographies. And how are investors affected by that? The reason why they go for this is that the sector requires a huge capital investment, and with the current inflation and interest rates, they can enter big investments only with strategic partners. That's what they opt for. There are regional cost factors, there are economic factors, there are political factors. So they build strategic partnerships. They deem it more logical. Okay, thank you very much. Gülsün. What are the strategic transactions in the pipeline? What do you see? Absolutely, there are such partnerships. There is a serious number of investors monitoring Turkey right now, and I can say that this is going to happen in the near future. Before I came here, I looked at the prices per key. After the transaction, you look at the per key, and it depends on the country risk as well. But I don't want to give false hope, but in Côte d'Azur, there is the Esther Hotel sales, and it's $10 million per room. In London, there was this hotel that Barclay Brothers sold to Qatar. It was 5-6 million pounds per room. For us, $3 or $2 million is the highest. That's in Bodrum. Generally, it's around $250,000 on average. If we include the whole South, the European average is 860,000 euros on average. So we're cheaper in that regard. So perhaps we can't create a healthy EBITDA in Turkey. That's why we are a bit lower. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. Have a good evening. Thank you for your great timing. So we have concluded our final panel, thanks to you. The board, our colleagues, our employees will have a big family photo. That's part of our tradition.
Yönetim kurulumuzu davet etmek istiyorum.
I want to invite the board.
Evet, buyurunuz efendim. Önce bir fotoğrafı.
First, let's have our photo. I want a big applause for the closing. I didn't ask for it throughout the day. But now, this is the last panel, and that's the pleasure of it. Bravo. The real owners of the stage. TTYD board, please. Our TTYD employees, TIF employees. Can everyone join us on the stage? Yasemin Hanım, where are you? Öykü Hanım, Hale Hanım, Deniz Hanım, Oylum.
Şimdi ben Adem Bey arkadaşlarımızla
Adem Bey, are we organizing our colleagues?
ve sevgili dostlar. Yönetim kurulumuzu söyledik. Yönetim kurulumuzu bekliyoruz.
We're waiting for the board of directors. Müge Hanım, please proceed to the stage. This team,
Biz 2 gün beraberdik ama
we were together for 2 days, but this team worked for months. Believe me, I'm not exaggerating. They worked for months.
muhteşem bir iş başardık.
They achieved a great success. So
Çok teşekkür
I want to
ederiz.
thank the whole team.
Başta elbette. Açın.
Music.
Evet, İstanbul ve Türkiye sizi de ayağa davet ediyorum.
Istanbul and Turkey, I invite you to dance. We'll dance. Stand up. Stand up.
Ortaya oyanmaların yaşayın. Evet. Aynen. Hadi.
Oylum buraya. Oylum Hanım buraya. Evet sizi de lütfen dansa buyurun.